On CBN News, Washington.
Turning overseas, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is warning Israel will do what is necessary to prevent weapons from falling into the hands of Islamic extremists in Syria. Rebel fighters there are seeking chemical weapons to help fight the government regime. Netanyahu told the BBC the Jewish state fears those weapons will fall into the hands of al-Qaeda or Hezbollah militants. He warned that if that happens, it will change the balance of power in the area and that the Middle East would fall into the hands of terrorists. Netanyahu said Israel has, quote, the right to act to prevent that from happening. For more on this, we turn now to our Middle East Bureau Chief, Chris Mitchell. Chris is visiting the States from Jerusalem, where he lives. Chris, what does this warning mean, and what kind of action is Israel prepared to make, would you say?
I think actually not only a warning, but just several weeks ago, they actually did have an attack in Syria that presumably destroyed some anti-aircraft missiles that were on their way to Lebanon. I think this is a warning to Syria that the rebels or Assad, if they transfer weapons of mass destruction, Israel's going to take action because they see that as an existential threat against them.
Well, talk a little bit about the situation in Syria. It's been going on for years. Is an end in sight?
I don't think so. A lot of people have felt like Assad was eventually going to fall, but he's proved much more resilient than many people expected. Iran has a vested interest in keeping the Assad regime alive, so they're pouring weapons, manpower, arms into there. So it's a real battle, and it's a real war of attrition in some ways between the rebel forces, many of them Islamist, and the Assad regime. So we don't know exactly how long it's going to last.
Well, what is it like for the people living in Syria right now?
The people in Syria, it's a horrific experience. Over 70,000 people have died. We've met some of the Syrian refugees in Jordan. They describe horrific scenes. They describe scenes of maybe, setting up a tent within the courtyard of a village, taking the men there, torturing them. You can hear the screams throughout the neighborhood, and sometimes, just disappearing. So there's horrific things going on within Syria, and the refugee problem is massive. I mean, Jordan, Lebanon, and in Turkey, nearly 1 million refugees.
Let's talk a little bit more about that ripple effect quickly, the impact on the rest of the Middle East from all of this.
It is. It's destabilizing potentially Jordan. It's having an effect on Lebanon. I mean, thousands, hundreds of thousands of refugees in Turkey. And I think for Israel, and we've been up there on the border, they want to make sure that this war doesn't spill over. Their main concern is that if the Assad regime falls, then Islamists, those that are dedicated to the destruction of Israel, are going to take over Syria. And if they get weapons of mass destruction, that's a huge problem for Israel.
All right, Chris Mitchell, our Middle East Bureau Chief, thanks as always for your time and your insights.
Thanks, Mark.
Very valuable. Appreciate it.